Hey everyone, I'm Paul with MadCap Software. Going to talk to you about sites today. This is the first video in a series of videos on sites in MadCap Central. So, sites, what are those all about? How do you use them? Well, people hear the word sites and you might be confused at first, thinking, well, what's that? Are you building a website? What's going on here? Well, I mean, sort of, yes and no. You upload your Flare projects up to Central, and you can build the output. If you're a Flare author, you know how to do that. But once you have that output, you need to make it accessible to people. How are people going to get to it? And so that's where sites come in. So all sites are, it's a site is a collection of settings, and it points to a particular output that you've generated. And then you give it a few settings, some information. So it's things like, what's the URL going to be? What is that path that people are going to use to get to it? Is it everybody going to be able to get to it, or only certain people? Is it going to be limited to specific people? It's things like that. All right. So this is the first video in this series, and we're going to talk about creating a site first. But then there are other videos that follow on this. We are going to get into setting sites live, so it's out there, right? We're going to talk about rolling back live sites in case there's a problem. We're going to talk about setting sites as private, so you can limit it, and then vanities and domains, so that you have control over the path of the URL. And we'll wrap it up with themes, this little feature that has to do with sites to let you control the look and feel of things that are outside of your actual documentation. Okay, that is what we're going to cover. Let's hop into MadCap Central and just run through this, run through the steps of creating a site just to begin. So here we are inside of a MadCap Central license. This is just a little license that I call Fiction Soft, that I use for testing and showing examples of things. And so over on the left, you can see all of the pages that are in here, the projects and analytics, and there's sites, and there's other things in here too, the users and so forth. All right, so the first thing is, again, sites are they're associated really with your project output. And so the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you have generated output, because you're going to need to point to that. So that is sort of the catalyst for this whole thing. So I'm going to open up my projects page in here, and you can see I've uploaded 4 projects up here, Flare projects up into Central. And let's say that I'm working on, say, this Flare project that I call Module 3, and I'm going to generate some output for it, and I want to get that into the hands of end users through a site. So I'm going to open up that project, and I need to come to builds, and you can see that I have a few targets in here. One that I call e-learning private. Okay, so that one, I'm going to generate some, maybe an e-learning course, but I don't want it to be accessible to everybody. And then I've got a knowledge base, an online help, and a PDF. Let's just go in here to online help, and let's say I want to generate some online help, and I want to create a site for it and make it accessible to end users. Okay, so I've already actually generated some output before, and you can see it completed. It's successful. So we're all good there, but I'm going to go ahead and generate another one just so that you can see what happens in sites when we get into that dialogue. So this should go really quickly. You can see the last time I generated this, it only took 23 seconds. So this is going to finish up here in just a second. And then I'll have, once I go in to create sites, it's going to pull both of these up, and it's going to give me a choice. What output do I want to use? All right, so that'll finish up here just momentarily. And while it does, let's just hop over into sites. So I have my outputs. Let's just assume that's going to finish here in a second. So sites, you get onto this page and you see one thing in here, because I have already previously created a site. And so it's taken up this row in here, and it is, you can kind of guess what it's for. It's for this module 1. and I have some HTML5 output in here, and got a little globe here under the live thing. So that's live, it's out there. You can see who has access to it. So we want to create, and we're on the sites tab here. And there are these other tabs also that have to do with sites, which we'll get into in the future. But what we want to do is click this button right here because we want to add a new one. And now you come into this dialog and you want to give this thing a name that is just very obvious, so that when you're looking at this grid, you might end up with lots and lots of sites because you've got lots of outputs. And so you just want to give this something that's really easily recognizable for you. And it's really up to you. But what you might want to consider is integrating or including maybe some different layers, some different levels of your project and your output. So maybe you want to include your project name, because you might have lots of projects in your license. And so, okay, so you can include your project name, and then maybe the target name, or just an abbreviation for that, and maybe even a version number if you're doing version software. So in this case, I am doing something for module 3. So I'm just going to type mod 3 in here, and I can type a dash or whatever I want to do. And so the target. So let's say this is for my online help, and so I don't want to write all that. Well, I can. It's just the name of the thing, online help. And I'm not versioning right now. I could, but I'm just going to say online help. All right, so that's my name. Your domain, we're going to do a video on domains here later in this series. This is a domain that's provided by MadCap Central, and you can have your own custom domains. But my company is called FictionSoft, and in this case, I actually have a 1 at the end of it, FictionSoft 1, and then MC Output. So you're going to see MC Output. I'm on a different server. I'm on a test server here. So I'm seeing mcoutputtest.com. All right, so that is my domain. Vanity, we're going to worry about that later. For now, we're just going to leave this. Site theme, that is another video. We're going to talk about that. Site trusted domain group. What is that all about? Well, a lot of people aren't even going to need to use this. This is in case you have output that actually includes some output from someplace else. For example, Flare has a feature in it called an iframe, where you can insert, you can point to an external website. And so people can open up that topic and they can see and scroll through that external website right there inside the topic. Well, some sites don't allow their security settings so that that output might not show up. And so what you can do is you can create these trusted domain groups, and you do that on this security tab, right? And you can create this this group of websites that are trusted. And so then you could select this group of sites. But I'm going to just assume that, hey, I don't have anything like that. I don't need to select that, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now, this next field this is really important because, again, this is sort of the core of the thing. This is all about output, giving access to output. So now you want to go in and select the build that you want to be associated with this site. So you click on this, and the first thing you do is select the project. And so it lists all the projects that I have uploaded. Well, I'm on module 3. That's what I'm interested in. And then it lists your targets. And I have some old ones in here that were replaced, and you see those in red. I am going to select one of these that is in black text, and online help is the one I'm interested in. And you can see the builds in here. And so these are specific builds. This is the one that I generated earlier this morning, and then this is the one that you just saw me generating, or you can select latest build. All right, so what do you do here? Well, in this case, I am generating online help, and I'm thinking, all right, I want to make this accessible to anybody out there. Anybody. So I probably want to select something specific, and I think, okay, this is my latest build. I've looked at it, I've tested it. This is great. This is what I want. I'm going to select that one. All right. I could, and the reason why I'm doing that is because that's sort of locked in. I know it's good. I don't necessarily want to select latest build because as time goes by, I might generate new output and I just kind of want to test it first, and it's not ready for everybody in the world to see it. And if I selected latest build, as soon as I generate a successful build, my output would switch over to that. And I don't want people to see that. This is actually more useful for internal documentation. I'll get into that later in another video when we talk about private outputs, but I'm going to select this one right here. So I've got a very specific build that's set for this. Now these last fields in here, set live, and the include in search engines, set private. We're going to get to all that later. For now, I just am creating a site. So I'm going to click save, and it will add this other row down here, and you can see it actually opened, it loaded and was expanded. So you can click on it to expand it and see what's going on inside of it. There's the name, Mod 3 Online Help, access all users right now. And that was the other thing about the settings, which I didn't go into, was there's also this tab over here called Teams, and I have some teams set up on this page right here for modules 1 through 3, and I got the private output one. I've set up these teams. Well, do you need to select a team? Well, you may or may not. Teams is really actually mostly useful when you are creating a private site that's limited to certain people. Otherwise, if you're not doing that, you may not even care about associating it with a team. All right, so you can see the information about this. This is it. This is, this is everything about this site, right? And this is where you would get to that output right here, and it looks kind of ugly right now. It's FictionSoft 1, and then you get all these numbers in here, and then default.htm, that's sort of the entry point. And if I clicked on that, it would open up the output. All right, that is really what I wanted to show, just to get this thing going. Like I said, we're going to get into all these other aspects, the live, the private, in other videos. So what do I actually do in my own documentation? Well, in my actual case, when I am in my own central license, I have several sites. In my case, the majority of these are actually private sites, and they're meant for internal use for other MadCap software employees. But I do have, for example, a site that is for the central documentation itself, and that is set so that it's accessible to everybody. So in your case, it just depends on how many outputs you have that you want to allow other people to see. And so you might have a handful, you might just have one, you might have a handful, you might have hundreds of sites. So for every unique output that you want to make accessible to other people, whether it's a limited group or everybody in the world, you need a site. Okay, that is it on this video. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to get in and talk just a little bit about setting these sites as live.